Hey there, I'm Brandon, and you're watching ADHD Game Dev. Boom, boom, welcome. This video is brought to you by coffee. If Dutch Brothers wants to sponsor me, I would love that. I do love a Kokomo. Okay, let's talk because this has been on my mind, and we're gonna do a vlog style here today, off the cuff. I want to talk to you about why I left GameMaker and got into Godot and how that's going for the first few months here. I'm TLDR, quite happy with it, and I don't intend to go back. Why? What happened? What took me so long? Well, first let's start off with the two quick reasons about why I didn't leave GameMaker sooner. First, Godot has been kind of the challenger in the industry for a good long time, and they've been kind of up and coming, and people were saying, with some of the new releases, it's going to get really, really notable, and I thought, I'll take a wait and see kind of attitude. I don't want to become an early adopter. I don't want to get into a new engine and then it kind of fizzle out, but I wanted to see how it did with the spotlight that was being put on it, in large part due to Unity setting itself on fire. So that said, all right, fine, I'll give Godot a try. The other reason that I didn't want to switch over quickly is because I'm actually quite good with writing GML script, and I can't write in Godot's GD script worth diddly. So it's tough to say I know how to write in this language. I can write it in my head and then, go ahead and switch over. But I said, all right, fine. Okay, so reasons that we're pushing. We'll start with on the negative side for GameMaker. I think for a while, I'm still using their engine because I know it and I can make stuff in it. And it's hard to say, just stop and go start learn a new engine. But one of the things that was always in the back of my mind is that I think GameMaker as a company have kind of screwed their users a couple of times in a couple of ways. Not as bad as what Unity had done, but they change pricing models a lot in a very unreliable kind of a way, so you never know what the pricing model is going to be. And right now it actually is really fair, really good pricing model, and I don't have any issues with their current model. But I have been there when they just sort of pulled the rug out from under you on a couple of times, and it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm happy to see that they're stabilized right now. Okay. The next one is that they're just never going to be a 3D engine. And what I've been doing is to just kind of shift the vision that I have for games into stuff that I could create in GameMaker. And that's not really the way you should be behaving. You shouldn't be limited by your tools. A lot of people will tell you, oh, the tools don't matter. I continue to disagree. I've never agreed with that. I will continue to disagree. Your tools do matter. They absolutely do matter. For example, I cannot do 3D stuff in GameMaker. Full stop. Don't at me. People will say, oh, but if you work around, it's not a 3D engine. Stop. So that got me to want to switch over to, and I'm having a great time. If you've watched my devlog on Tiny, that's my first 3D kind of a project I've really gotten into, and it's so pretty right off the bat. So I could not do that in GameMaker, just not possible. Okay. Next up is the fact that the Godot engine has the open source community-based kind of a concept going on. That's actually a plus and a negative. Because it's community-driven, on the one side, that means that you don't get the corporate support that you might hope for. But I think, if anything, we've learned over the last few years that we can't trust companies. Even if you'd think that, well, running this engine, even to drive their bottom line, that they would still keep at it, they would have motivation to. They still manage to treat their own users badly, even when we're paying them. So, okay, I thought... Me over here being naive, I had a stupid idea that if I paid you for stuff or was making you money through your licensing agreement, that you might have a strong motivation to continue to be on my side. But shock a minute, clearly I don't know how money works or companies work. I figure I pay you for something and you provide the good or service. But no, that's not how it goes. So, being community supported, it does have kind of a backup to it, because if anybody in that chain decides to just wig out over anything, you still do have the opportunity to see forks of the project, which might even catch on and be stronger than the original, if that ever happened. Right now I'm on the main Godot fork. I don't have any issues with that. But it's good to see that. I also like the spirit of community-driven software. I love Blender. I've financially supported them before too. I would recommend for you to do the same if you can. And that's so wonderful to have people committing their time, their money, their code to it, to support it, or just to make videos to support one another in it. And I think it generates this sense of camaraderie that just can't be replicated with anything else. So anyway, there are a lot of good stuff there. But since I've gotten into Godot, I've really enjoyed working with it. It's been easy to make stuff, even though I feel like I'm bumbling around in the dark. And I'm always saying in my devlogs, if you watch me, I'm always saying that I don't know what I'm doing, because it's true. Right now, I'm just kind of making things up as I go along and bumbling around, it seems. But in spite of that, I'm still getting things done. Okay, and that was a hard shift. That was a hard shift because I was getting to the point in GameMaker to where I felt like I really had a strong comprehension of the logic of the whole thing, and that was nice. I could really see the flow of it, and the structure of my games behind the scenes was tight, really nice. I could have been a better developer, a better coder. That's not my strongest suit, but I was competent at it. And the way that I organized my projects was important because it made sure that I could update them and everything would just click and work really nicely together. So it was tough to walk away from that and to be in an environment where I feel like I'm a little bit clumsy. But I do see that the logic in Godot, especially with the tree and the node system, the way it works, is just so easy to understand. I actually had to let go of some preconceptions and to get more flexible in my thinking with Godot. And I'm like, wow, it just encourages you to flow with it and to click here and click there, and to start putting things together. And I've accidentally put stuff together before, like have code that's driven to make a platform go back and forth, and I accidentally set up a child system to where now my coins are going back and forth because they were a child of it. And I go, oh, that was actually really neat. It showed me the logic of it, that everything is inheriting from whatever is up through that branch. And that's a wonderful way to think in it. So I'm learning the coding side of it. I'm still very novice at that end of it. But all the other tools are just built in. And I also like it a lot better than Unity, because Unity is a really strong engine. But it is so much overhead to just download it and install it, and then you have to get into your Visual Studio side. Some people really like having a standalone editor. I get it. If you're a real power creator, that might make sense. For me, I'm just a solo dev, and I very much value a streamlined workflow and a simplified workflow so that I can actually accomplish things. If it gets too much overhead and too complicated, it starts to collapse under its own weight, and I can't keep up with it anymore. Also, if I don't have a top-of-the-line computer, well, I'm right out. So that's the other reason I couldn't do Unreal, which is a beautiful engine, but I can't develop in it if I don't have a top-of-the-line computer. So all of these signs are just like, try Godot. And it was tough. It was tough to switch over. But after I got in there, I started fanboying on it. I started really fanboying over it. I'm like, wow, this is so nice. This is so nice. I don't blame myself for not switching sooner. I know why I didn't switch sooner. But having gone back and tried to brush up some projects that I had lingering in GameMaker, I was just screaming. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a pain. And I am pleased that I'm working in Godot now. I'm having a lot of fun. So anyway, I hope that answers you some questions. I'll answer some questions for you out there. I'm sure that if you are a GameMaker user and you're considering whether you should get into Godot, it is a switch. It is a mental switch. Godot feels a lot more loose and free and flexible in the way that it thinks and the way that it operates, as opposed to having to set things up in a very rigid kind of a way in GameMaker. So I think that was probably one thing that threw me. So once I've kind of relaxed a little bit with it, I'm starting to have a little bit more fun. But anyway, questions, comments, if you want to send me all your money, you just let me know about that. And again, this video was brought to you by coffee. You should try coffee today. Thanks, everybody. And no, Dutch Brothers is not sponsoring me. I wish they were. Please sponsor me. I love your coffee. Be awesome today. Talk to you later.